Thank God it's over. We are all mark safe from the 2025 Tennessee Titans, and now the real work begins. 615-737-1045 is the number. We are with you until 1 o'clock. F&M Bank Chat, also available for your participation. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I don't feel like I haven't talked about any of this at this point because I had Fox all the rest of the week, but I guess we haven't been on locally since Indiana advanced to the college football playoff semifinal, since the Titans restructured their front office for the 17,000th time, since Cam Ward had a technically season-ending injury yesterday in Jacksonville. And now the season officially comes to a close. We have a lot to get to and plenty of time to do it. Good morning, boys. How is morale?
Great. Happy New Year to everybody. NFL playoff picture is set. College football playoff semifinal set. Coaching candidates are trickling in with interview requests. But I assume that we're going to do what the people want, and that is a little pick 'em here. Who do we have today in the FCS National Championship game happening right here in Nashville? Illinois State or Montana State? Don Davenport doing sidelines for Westwood One, by the way.
Yep. Fun. Are we carrying that?
Ooh, actually, a good question. There's no NFL game tonight.
I assume that would be on. So I have no rooting interest, but I just hope everybody has fun. Where are they playing this game?
At First Bank Stadium.
Okay.
The home of the FCS Championship for a couple of years.
Very good. So we will have that locally. It is locker room cleanout day for the Titans, and I will scamper on down to Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park in the second hour. We will carry Mike McCoy's final press conference as the Titans interim coach at 12:30, and Brett Kern has been kind enough to adjust his schedule to move up to 11 o'clock today. Ben Jones will be with us on Wednesday as he makes his way back from his New Year's vacation at the beach. So, worst possible outcome of yesterday's game, not just that you get your teeth kicked in, but that, I mean, you can say it's a jinx if you want to, for all the talk about Cam Ward playing every offensive snap for the Tennessee Titans until yesterday. And that's fine if you want to think that there's some higher power or some karmic universe in which just simply mentioning that fact through 16 games.
No, we're here to have rational conversations.
Is the reason why the quarterback is done for the foreseeable future. Though, again, it's not like the worst situation in the world. It's just a very unfortunately timed circumstance. But the reporting on it, and since been confirmed, is a grade 3 AC joint sprain. Now, what does that mean? It does not mean that Cam Ward will miss substantial time into the 2026 season. Positive. It does mean that he will have the option for surgery. Negative. Negative mostly because what does he need to spend the next couple of months doing? What did we talk about? The most important part of Cam Ward's development being having a normalized offseason for him to be able to work on all of the things that need fine-tuning for him to be the best version of a quarterback instead of just a guy who makes a couple of wow throws and is getting the holy hell beat out of him down in and down out. Now he will be robbed, at least in some form of or fashion, of that moving forward. That is as detrimental to this entire thing as anything you could have put on the table other than him having a season ending, like an Achilles tear or something like that in the final game of the season that would see him miss substantial time into 2026. So it's not the absolute worst case scenario, and it is not something that is going, it's not a killer entirely, but it's not ideal moving forward, as Cam Ward is going to have some recovery moving forward after the, it's a weird spot for them to pick to call a Cam Ward designed run, where there have been very few Cam Ward designed runs. I personally, I know there was some back and forth on social media about the play call. I have no issue with the play call. You have a 100% chance of injury if you're out on the field. It's just unfortunate that it happened, and the optics of it happening under a coaching staff that will not be here past today is just, Titans football, baby. You can't escape it.
Yeah, but I don't think Mike McCoy and this staff had any designs on coaching for optics in this game. They were just coaching the game, and it just sucks. It sucks, especially because of how good of a start Cam Ward got off to. 39-yarder to Alec Iomanner to get them down the field. He's 3 for 3 for 52 yards, runs in the touchdown. Titans got to stop and then quickly scored on offense. It's 7-0. Jags look sluggish. And then as soon as Cam Ward's designation was switched from questionable to out, you knew this was going to be a long day.
Yeah, Brandon Allen did nothing. Cam Ward had more passing yards on 3 attempts than Brandon Allen basically did until the very end of that game. He was nightmarish, and I felt bad for him, right? It's the first game action that he's had all season long. Whatever. It's 41-7 the final. The Jags just curb stomp them. The Titans go without a divisional win for the first time in Titans history, dating back to when this team arrived in Tennessee, officially as the Tennessee Titans, not the Tennessee Oilers. Titans era 1999 to present. They have at least won a divisional game in every season until this season. Now, the good news is it's over, and we can all put it behind us. I imagine that everybody involved is breathing some level of sigh of relief, and now the coaching interview requests have begun. There are many names reported. We are going to talk about them throughout the course of the show. In fact, we can get to that. We have coaches fired. Atlanta didn't wait. They did it halfway through Sunday Night Football last night, getting rid of Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot. So they're going to reset the board to 0 entirely. We have news of retentions as well that are questionable. We have news of firings that were predictable in some form or fashion. But Mike McCoy will speak today. Mike Borgonzi will speak right at the very start of the show tomorrow. So Lucas and Robert will do me the courtesy of opening the show tomorrow. I'll be at Borgonzi's press conference. We'll carry that live for you, of course, because he has many questions to answer. And that being news that we haven't talked about here locally since that happened, a bit of a Friday news dump situation. There was a lot of confusion just talking to people about it before Amy Adams Strunk's latest statement on the state of things came out. Apparently, there was a lot of confusion from coaching agents about who was actually running the show. So in the attempt to clear up the confusion for the candidates and the people representing the candidates to be this place's next head coach, they decided, all right, we'll take the training wheels off Borgonzi. Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi will report directly to Amy Adams Strunk. Mike Borgonzi will oversee the coaching search start to finish. Ultimately, it is still Amy Adams Strunk's final decision. But the football people with football backgrounds, the adults in the room, are going to run the coaching search. It's the most positive thing to come out of this season, I think, especially given the Cam Ward circumstance yesterday. The most positive thing that you could possibly ask for. If I was a Titans fan, I would be very, very pleased with this latest shift in alignment. Now they have to get it right. And that is going to be an interesting process because as we are getting ready to talk about, I suppose in the next segment, there are several other coaching jobs that are open. There will be several other coaching jobs to pick from. We're still waiting on Vegas as far as the reporting goes, though there has been much said about the expectation is that Pete Carroll will either be fired or move on. They will just simply have a parting of ways. There is also the looming Schefter uncertainty that he said surrounds John Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, who just, deeply unfortunate circumstance last night where you get the fourth quarter spectacular efforts by Isaiah Likely and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and just Tyler Loop, the kicker, misses the field goal that would give the Ravens the ability to win their division and go to the playoffs. Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers in, Baltimore out. So we also await some kind of clarity on the Ravens job.
Not surprising that Matt Nagy is the first name that popped up as far as Titans interview requests are concerned. But I do think that News Dump Friday was met pretty positively from Titans fans.
It should be.
Mike Borgonzi has the cleanest slate of anybody involved on the football side in that building. And any level of trust that Titans fans have in the organization at the moment, I would say, is largely tied to Mike Borgonzi and Cam Ward, and I think what they saw from this rookie core in 2025. But we'll see how that translates in terms of him utilizing his relationships to conduct this coaching search.
And we know where the most apparent relationship lies, as Lucas said, that Matt Nagy has already been requested, as have several other candidates. Yes, the Borgonzi thing, he has the least amount of egg on his face from all of this. And their intention as an organization, as it's been explained to me, is that they want him to be the guy moving forward. They don't want to have to put Brinker back out there for press conferences just to be dragged through the dirt. They don't want to, have any more conversations about Burt Nyehill and Chad Brinker answering on behalf of Amy Adams Strunk. They want all things football directed and to be directed through Mike Borgonzi, and that feels like the most responsible path moving forward. So, Lucas, what'll we do coming up next?
We've got names trickling in. It is coaching search season. We're lighting the beacons, and Matt Nagy is not the only person that Mike Borgonzi worked with in Kansas City to get an interview request from the Titans. And we'll do that next.
No one wants to deal with a plumbing, HVAC, or electrical emergency. Most of the time, you don't know what it will cost or if it'll get fixed correctly or if someone is just trying to sell you something. That's when you call Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Their experts are going to solve your problems quickly. The price you're told is the price you'll actually pay. There's no hidden fees or surprises on your bill. Hiller has been in business for over 35 years and is family-owned and operated. Their techs are professional, experienced, and trustworthy. They're all background checked and drug screened as well. When they're on their way, you'll receive a photo of the tech and a link to track them in real time, so you don't waste time waiting around. 100% satisfaction guaranteed of happy you'll be, or the service is free. That, of course, is the Happy Hiller promise. So book online today at happyhiller.com.
Oh, where to begin? Multiple names are leaking out. Titans putting in interview requests across the NFL, coordinators, former head coaches. And there is news we knew from earlier today that the Browns are firing Kevin Stefanski, but not general manager Andrew Berry. And Diana Rossini, 2 minutes ago, reported that the Raiders will fire head coach Pete Carroll. After 1 year, became the oldest head coach in NFL history this season. Dreadful season, 2 wins. They have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. They're going to hit the reset button. TBD if there will be a change at general manager as well. Tom Pelissero reporting that Tom Brady is in the Raiders facility today as he prepares to take on a bigger role in the team's football operation, along with his college teammate, GM John Spytek. So that certainly does not indicate any change at general manager for Las Vegas. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best in the world. The perfect time is this week to get yourself a big bucket of Hattie B's Hot Chicken at HattieB.com during college football playoff and NFL playoff action. Okay, the obvious name, Matt Nagy, was pretty much the first to trickle out there in terms of official requests the Titans have put in for head coaching interviews. Some of the other names that have come in, a lot of defensive coordinators. This is from Adam Schefter. Vance Joseph of the Broncos, former Cardinals head coach. Colts defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, former Bengals defensive coordinator. And Chiefs defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo. Any surprise whatsoever that Steve Spagnuolo popped up as an interview request, despite the fact that Mike Borgonzi obviously worked with him in Kansas City?
Only surprise in the sense that if I was him, I wouldn't want to leave the situation in Kansas City. But, you know, maybe there's some level of, I mean, I don't know. Are we looking at the Chiefs right now as writing on the wall in any form or fashion? Because how much longer is Andy Reid going to want to do this is my question.
How old is Andy Reid?
Andy Reid is, him and Mike McCarthy are of a similar age. I would say that Andy Reid is, Andy Reid is up there, right?
He's 68 next season. He is a few years older than Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, so I would look at, if I was Steve Spagnuolo, I would say, okay, Andy, how much longer do you really want to do this? Because we know that Travis Kelce is probably on his way out. Yes, I mean, there's been nothing reported, but it is fair to expect that this is probably Travis Kelce's last NFL season. Though, you know, we'll see. Their window of competitiveness is open as long as Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback. But their defense has definitely taken some hits from a personnel standpoint. Maybe Spagnuolo is looking around and being like, okay, I think that this may be my opportunity to get back in. Now, he did not cover himself in glory in his previous opportunities, both as interim and as a head coach full-time the last time. It's been a couple of years, but still.
He's 11-41 as a head coach, whether his time in St. Louis or as his little stretch as the interim with the Giants. I mean, we're talking about Andy Reid being 68 next season. Spags just turned 66, so he's not a spring chicken. He felt like the most entrenched into he's a coordinator. He's one of the best in the history of the league with the totality of his career. I don't think any of us really brought up Steve Spagnuolo. I feel like he has not been one of those names that has been tossed around as a coordinator that could potentially try to circle back around. I'm surprised that we see his name before we see Schwartz's name popping up in interview requests.
I mean, it just started today, and Stefanski being fired may lead to Jim Schwartz looking around and being like, for example, I don't know Schwartz's contract situation. I don't know if Andrew Berry, who is being retained, it's stunning to me that the guy that gave Deshaun Watson that contract is being retained and allowed to proceed with another coaching search. And Kevin Stefanski, the 2-time coach of the year, who, again, has not had a stellar season by any stretch of the imagination. And I understand why Browns fans wanted him fired and why the Haslams would look around and see the need to fire him. I also don't understand why they wouldn't clear house there the way that Atlanta is, for example. But
only 5 teams have head coaching openings. One of them is doing the full reset with the coach and GM.
You don't see it happen very often. I mean, for as much as we talk about how much more beneficial it would be, you don't see it happen very often. And, I mean, hell, it's not the case here. Though, you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could look at 2026 as a fresh start for everybody, even if Borgonzi's been here for a year. But still, not the kind of clean slate approach that, at least in most people's minds, would make sense. So I asked Titans fans this question, 615-737-1045. Of the people that you have seen reported to have been requested for interviews by the Titans. Mike McCarthy does not have to be requested, right? They could have interviewed Mike McCarthy weeks ago if they wanted to. He has no allegiances. He's not obviously coaching in the postseason or anything like that. There are no restrictions for interviewing Mike McCarthy, so they do not have to request him. But of the requests that you have seen, who is your number one candidate for the Tennessee Titans? 615-737-1045. Mine is Matt Nagy. Listen, I get that he didn't fare well overall in Chicago. But the most important thing to me for the next Titans head coach, for however long that person is here, is that he is on the same page with the people that he is working with and for. And while they have a pre-existing relationship, again, I would refer you to Mike Pompei's piece on Matt Nagy and his coaching rehabilitation process. You don't have to believe it entirely. I know those things are puff pieces. They did one on Mike Vrabel last year. Looks like it worked pretty well for Mike. I am not saying that you have to take everything as gospel in that piece and that you should just believe that this is an entirely reformed person and that he will make no mistakes in Tennessee that he made in Chicago. I don't believe that either. But the most important thing for an NFL organization is alignment. I also love the idea that he doesn't want to be the play caller. Now, does that open you up to the idea that you could get an offensive coordinator hired away year after year after year and just keep chasing? Yes. But you do hedge yourself against that by having somebody who does have play calling experience and who is more interested in delegating and being a CEO of this place, working with the number of people that he's going to work with. Of the people that I have seen, prior to any of them interviewing, Matt Nagy would be my favorite. I understand why Titans fans optically would push back on that. I personally do not have the same issues that a lot of you seem to.
I continue to be fairly stunned at just how expressively turned off by the name Matt Nagy so many people are. It feels like the most polarizing name on this list that you could throw out there. And you asked the question, who would be your front runner of those names that we just listed? Vance Joseph, Lou Anarumo, Steve Spagnuolo, and Matt Nagy. For what it's worth, Jordan Schultz reported that Cliff Kingsbury is going to get an interview request from the Titans. I haven't seen Schefter or Ian Rappaport throw that name out there. But I just don't get it. Curtis on the FNM Bank chat says, bro failed upwards his entire career. Brian says none of them.
He won Coach of the Year with Mitch Trubisky. Okay, like he didn't fail upward his entire career. He did what everybody else did. He was a part of a winning organization. He got hired away. He won some there. Then he crashed out. He hasn't failed upward his entire career. He got fired. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm just confused. I will add, you mentioned that Mike McCarthy doesn't have to have a request put in. I guess neither does Kevin Stefanski at this point.
No.
Two-time NFL Coach of the Year. He is fired by the Cleveland Browns. If we're to put everything on paper and we're putting the relationships aside that we know Mike Borgonzi has, obviously, with Matt Nagy, like to me, my first reaction when that front office news came down on Friday is the first question that popped into my head is I wonder what the betting odds now for Matt Nagy to be the next coach of the Titans are with that relationship. And part of that article by Dan Pompei that I feel like we didn't really hit on was the fact that Matt Nagy helped prepare Mike Borgonzi for his interview to be the Titans GM, that they were bouncing ideas off each other. It's clear there is something there between the two of them.
I think that he is going to, listen, they have to go through all the hurdles. And I'm not saying that they're going to discount any of the hiring candidates or any of the potential candidates to be hired just to try and get through as many as they can and then hire Nagy. But you could very easily make the case for how that would be the most likely path that this thing plays out. I also don't care what Chiefs fans, how badly they want to get rid of Matt Nagy. He's not the play caller there. The Chiefs were bad for a variety of reasons. I don't think Matt Nagy has a huge hand in why they were bad. I think that their injuries cost them a great deal of opportunities. I think their offensive line in front of Patrick Mahomes has not been great. They can't run the ball, so they're one-dimensional. And Mahomes, year after year after year, has seen a denigration of the skill position players around him, and no one player in the NFL is good enough to win it all. That's just not how this works. If it was, the Chiefs would have won the Super Bowl over the Eagles instead of getting their teeth kicked in last year. I really don't care what fans on the internet have to say about their coaching staff. If Titans fans had that same kind of thing, many of them who are now pining for Mike Vrabel to return wanted Mike Vrabel out the door. We see this every year. The only people that are happy with their play caller are the ones who are scared that that play caller is going to get hired away by another team, except for the Chiefs. But again, he's not the play caller, so he's not really the one that you got the issue with. It's a ridiculous thing to cite as your reason. Well, Chiefs fans can't wait to get rid of him. Get over it.
Well, the most notable omission here, because, like you said, we don't know for sure if they have or if they plan to talk to McCarthy or Stefanski now that he's fired, is obviously Robert Saleh. He is not on this list. There is a number of defensive-minded names, Vance Joseph, Lou Anarumo, Steve Spagnuolo. Two of those three are former NFL head coaches. Anarumo has never gotten to that point in his career. But Robert Saleh is not a name that has been reported as someone the Titans are requesting to interview from San Francisco. Do you expect that to be a name at any point that we see as a formal interview request from the Titans?
You said Saleh?
Yeah, Robert Saleh.
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. I don't, and again, I would like to see how all of them go through the interview process. I look forward to Mike Borgonzi's press conference tomorrow because I want a little more clarity because of the nebulous nature of, well, what does Amy Adams-Strunk want in a coach? Well, I speak on behalf of Amy Adams-Strunk, but I also speak on behalf of Amy Adams-Strunk. They've got two people who are empowered to speak on behalf of Amy, and now neither of them is running the coaching search, theoretically, though they will be there in support of the guy who is. So I would like to know from Mike Borgonzi explicitly, or in as explicit terms as humanly possible, hey, what do you want here? Like, I understand that, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of generalities tomorrow. He's not somebody who goes into great depth on anything, I think, Mike Borgonzi, just because, I don't think he cares about the press conference stuff. But I think it's important to emphasize to him, hey, you need to give your fan base some level of clarity here about what are the most important things to you specifically for this job. You don't have to give us the qualifications of the people that you're going to interview and how they mesh with that. But I think fans deserve some level of explicit detail on what is the most important thing in your next head coach here. And I think Mike Borgonzi needs to be prepared to answer that question.
So, of the names that have been reported, it's crazy that Matt Nagy is eliciting the most negative response from Titans fans as opposed to someone like Steve Spagnuolo that has tried and failed to be a head coach and obviously has been elite in his career as a defensive coordinator, or a Lou Anarumo that has seen varying levels of success in the NFL. Obviously, the Bengals defense has plummeted in the last couple of years. The Colts defense this year,
they were good when they were healthy, and they fell off when they weren't.
Pretty much. Which
is the same you could say of Cincinnati. They were good when they had good players, and then they started giving away guys like Jesse Bates to Atlanta, and their defense went to hell.
But the thing that I do like to see, and I hope to continue seeing, is the Titans requesting conversations with all sorts of different candidates, young and old, veterans that have been head coaches versus guys that have not been head coaches, younger coaching prospects that have not gotten that chance yet versus older coaching candidates that have been successful in certain capacities in their career but have never gotten that opportunity. Like, every single facet that somebody can bring to the table, I, as a Titans fan, would like to see them explore rather than putting themselves in the box that they put themselves into last year, even though, on paper, it was so easy to sell that hire last year in Brian Callahan, but we saw how that worked out 2 years ago. It's just so hard when you look at what has been successful in the NFL, and even to take it to college. Some of the biggest home run hires at either level, and some of the most questionable hires at either level, end up working in the exact opposite way that people expect it to, right? At the college level, we've talked about Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley, the splash hires of all splash hires in college football history, right? Jimbo Fisher, two of those three failed miserably and are fired. Lincoln Riley, not a great experience. What was the most bemoaned hire of the NFL head coaching cycle 2 years ago when the Titans were hiring Brian Callahan? Off the top of your head. It's 2 years ago. I would say it was Dan Quinn. Just a retread, Washington, defensive-minded guy to lead a team with a rookie quarterback.
I wouldn't pretend to remember a ton of outrage around Dan Quinn, but that's probably the least inspiring.
Exactly, the least inspiring. And they were in the NFC Championship in year one. right? Like, it's clear that Dan Quinn learned from a lot of the things that let him down in Atlanta. So I think Titans fans are going to get so hung up on wanting somebody that has been a head coach in the past, but then on that same note, turn around and say, absolutely not, we do not want Matt Nagy, who's been a coach of the year in his past. Now, if your argument is Kevin Stefanski is a better candidate than Matt Nagy, then I could hear that argument.
The resume is theoretically better, but not by much.
I would say,
I mean, there's a lot of bad in Cleveland these last couple of years. Now, he's had more of a run. How long was Nagy in Chicago?
Oh, he made it.
Because Stefanski's been there for a while, and he earned the level of longevity that he got.
4 seasons in Chicago. Nagy went 12-4, coach of the year, lost in the wild card game, the double doink, after winning the NFC North. 8-8 in year 2, 8-8 in year 3. Still made the playoffs, lost in the wild card round. 6-11 in year 4 and fired.
Yeah, that's a significant improvement over what's here. Listen, I'm not under any impressions that Matt Nagy is going to be the savior of this place. There is no Ben Johnson this cycle. There is no Mike Vrabel this cycle, okay? There's reason to believe that, for example, if I was Cliff Kingsbury, I'd look around at some of these jobs and I may decide to go back to Washington in this certain situation unless he feels that Dan Quinn is on shaky ground and he needs to make his move right now. Who is the most clearly and obviously attractive head coaching candidate out there? They're all about on level playing field, and I think people are just pining for Mike McCarthy because he took a year off the way that a lot of these smart candidates do.
Kevin Stefanski, meanwhile, just got fired after his 6th season in Cleveland. Year 1 went 11-5, won coach of the year, lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round. They won a playoff game. Year 2 went 8-9, missed the playoffs. Year 3, 7-10, missed the playoffs. Year 4, coach of the year, 11-6. Lost to the Texans in the wild card round. That was the Joe Flacco back half of the season resurgence from Cleveland. And they've combined for 8 wins in the last 2 years. And he is summarily fired. Last place in the AFC North in back-to-back seasons. But I'd argue Kevin Stefanski had more stacked against him in Cleveland than Matt Nagy did in Chicago with the Deshaun Watson deal and everything.
Yeah, nobody had a worse circumstance to work through. Again, it's why I'm shocked that Andrew Berry, the general manager in Cleveland, gets to keep his job. I know their draft class beyond the quarterback situation is doing well, but the quarterback situation that Andrew Berry has seemingly fumbled at every turn is the reason why they are in this mess primarily. I didn't see how the Browns petered out yesterday. They won that game, right?
The Browns won that game.
Myles
Garrett got his record-breaking sack with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
We'll get to some weenie behavior by Zach Taylor, I'm sure, on Wednesday.
Who is keeping his job, by the way.
Nonsense.
Almost as notable as the firings, the fact that Zach Taylor is keeping his job. Chris Ballard is keeping his job in Indy. Joe Shane is keeping his job with the Giants. But we'll have time to talk about all that. New headlines coming up in a little bit. But I ask you this. Kevin Stefanski, I would agree, is the better candidate on paper than Matt Nagy. And what he did in Cleveland with what was stacked against him versus what Matt Nagy did. But the crowning sort of season, the feather in their cap for both Nagy and Stefanski came in year 1 for both. Stefanski 11-5. They still finished 3rd in the AFC North. Obviously a really good division, won a playoff game, first Browns playoff game and win, and I don't remember how long. He did that with Baker Mayfield in year 3. I want to say that was year 3, 2020, of Baker Mayfield. 11-5 in year 3 of the Baker Mayfield career, while Matt Nagy went 12-4, won the NFC North with Mitch Trubisky in 2018. You put those next to each other with the information that we have of the last 7 or so seasons and the trajectories of both of those quarterbacks, what's the more impressive feat?
Oh, man. I think it's Stefanski with the Browns.
You think it's still Stefanski?
I think it's still Stefanski.
Going 11-5 with Baker versus 12-4 with Mitch Trubisky?
Especially in that division. The Lions weren't any good during that time. I don't remember who was quarterbacking the Vikings. You would have had Aaron Rodgers in the NFC North at that point in time, unless there was an injury that I'm forgetting about that cost him significant time that season. It's just because it's the Browns, right? There's so little winning there. And I know the Bears are damn near on even footing at that point in time. But what can you pull up on Pro Football Reference maybe the NFC North standings that year and how each team finished? Because I would be curious to
in 2020. We're talking about the Stefanski year?
I'm talking about, the NFC North. I'm talking about the Nagy year.
2018.
I would be curious to see how those teams finished and who was actually pushing them in the division.
Yeah, the Vikings were 8-7-1, and the Packers were 6-9-1.
Whoa.
And the Lions were 6-10.
What happened to the Packers that year?
I don't know. What did happen to the Packers?
That's curious.
2018.
All right, that's worth revisiting. We have plenty of time to do it, although, listen, they may not have a coach by Senior Bowl. They don't necessarily have to do that. And I'm curious to see how long they draw this process out. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how much time it occupies, as long as they get it right, because this is the most important decision, arguably, that this franchise has had in the 26 years that they've been the Tennessee Titans.
I just do think that the way it's trending early with the names that have already popped up, like the only name that I think would satisfy and check every box Titans fans have would probably be Mike McCarthy, right?
And he's not been named or reported anywhere around this job. In fact, most of the reporting around it is that he's favored to get the Giants job and that the Giants will bring him in.
But do we agree that that is the one that would cause the least amount of outwardly expressed grievances by Titans fans?
Probably.
I would say most likely that would be Mike McCarthy.
Success. He's been around the longest.
Yeah.
Like, if you were looking at brand equity, Mike McCarthy has done the best in his various circumstances. And it doesn't mean that he wouldn't do well here. I just think it's interesting that he's not being, at least right now, there is no reporting around Mike McCarthy, no noise around Mike McCarthy and the Titans, other than the internet trying to connect Chad Brinker with 13 years in Green Bay to Mike McCarthy.
It's just going to be interesting from the PR standpoint as they wade through this, because outside of McCarthy, I don't know that there is that one candidate.
There's not.
That would just have Titans fans rejoicing the way they were when Brian Callahan was hired.
Yes, and listen, I was very loud about bring me Brian Callahan, right? I did a whole spiel on it when it happened. It made the most sense to me in my head. We had no idea that it was going to go as poorly as it did. I think it was as universally praised as any hire. I mean, I remember there being more controversy around Vrabel than there was Callahan, and one was an appreciably better coach than the other, even in a worse form of Mike Vrabel. So just because it makes the most sense on paper doesn't mean that it's going to work out here. Because, again, I remind you, not all of these jobs are created equal. There are some they've become less complicated, right, with the statement from Amy Adams Strunk that has at least cleaned up some of the lack of clarity around the Titans head coaching search. But it doesn't mean that there aren't some difficult office politics to navigate around here, and you have to have somebody prepared to be able to handle just that. Lucas and Robert will do some headlines. I will scurry on off to Ascension St. Thomas for locker room cleanout day. We are hoping to hear from Cam Ward, who obviously did not speak yesterday after having his rookie season ended due to an AC joint sprain. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It's time for NFL Headlines with Lucas Panzica.
It is Black Monday. The NFL regular season is over. The playoff picture is set. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans offseason officially commences. Head coaching search, free agency. The Titans, by the way, we haven't even mentioned it, have the number 4 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Welcome back. We're fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Lucas and Bert with you. Brett Kern is going to be here in the next segment in studio. Buck running down to the facility for locker room clean out, and we'll see if Cam Ward is there speaking, if we get any sort of concrete update on the shoulder injury of the rookie quarterback. We'll hear from Mike McCoy, his final presser as the Titans interim head coach, coming up today at 12:30. But around the league, we already knew coming into today that the Titans and Giants had openings at head coach. Brian Daboll and Brian Callahan fired midseason. Here is what Black Monday has brought. I guess the Falcons got ahead of the curve. They fired Raheem Morris yesterday, as well as GM Terry Fontenot. Today, the Browns have fired head coach Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year. The Raiders have fired Pete Carroll. After a 3-win season, the Raiders won yesterday. They beat the Chiefs in the regular season finale, still find their way into the number 1 overall pick. They're going to hit the reset button. Doesn't look like there will be a change at GM. And the only coaching turnover that comes with GM turnover in the NFL this year is in Atlanta with Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot. As Zach Taylor is retained in Cincinnati, Duke Tobin is also retained as the GM. Shane Steichen retained in Indy. I don't think there was a big question about Steichen and whether or not he was going to be fired, but there certainly was around Chris Ballard. He is going to stick around in Indianapolis. Andrew Berry will remain the GM in Cleveland. Joe Shane will remain the GM for the New York Giants. Robert, is one of these more surprising to you than any of the others, whether it's a firing or a retention?
The most surprising retention for me would probably be Mike McDaniel. I totally expected him to go, but I can also see why they kept him. It's a tough spot to be in with Tua's cap hit, him getting benched. But the most surprising firing for me, I guess, would have to be Raheem Morris. I kind of expected them, similar to the Dolphins, it being a tough spot where you traded your first-round pick away. It's expected to be a high pick. You don't have that. You had question marks all over quarterback, but the surrounding cast is pretty good. I thought they would give him another run, but decided to clean house, and general manager went along with him.
4-game win streak to end the season for the Falcons. They basically won the Carolina Panthers, the NFC South, by beating the Saints yesterday.
The Falcons tied for first in the division.
Yeah, they're 8-9.
They have been eliminated from the playoffs since like the beginning of December.
There are 3 8-9 teams at the top of the NFC South. And you're right, the Falcons are one of them, and they've been eliminated for weeks now. What a weird, funky division in 2025, the NFC South. But the Bucks beat the Panthers Saturday. Doesn't matter because with all the tiebreaker mess, the Panthers end up rising above it, and they will host. They will host in the wild card round of the postseason. So there are your coaching changes, and it seems like that's going to be it. You bring up Mike McDaniel. I hadn't even thought about Mike McDaniel today. It doesn't look as though the Dolphins are going to make a move there unless they do what the Titans have done on a couple of occasions and wait until Tuesday to make a change and continue to evaluate things today. Adam Schefter reporting that the Dolphins are requesting GM interviews. So, yeah, no news regarding head coach out of Miami. Now, we mentioned that of all of these openings, the only one that is hitting the reset button as far as a timeline is concerned between head coach and GM is Atlanta. That is one thing that has been bemoaned here for quite some time. That, I don't know, what would you say, Robert? Maybe half the league has that timeline where the head coach and GM, their first years were the same year?
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's staggered. Like, I'm not the historian to be able to tell you each one of them that were hired on the same timeline, but I would imagine most of the NFL has been staggered in that way.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So, again, the names that have been brought up, that have been reported, that the Titans have requested to interview in this head coaching search. Matt Nagy, which was to be expected. Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, and Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. I have not seen anybody other than Jordan Schultz reporting that Cliff Kingsbury is drawing interest from the Titans, at least not as of yet. But that is where things currently stand, and we'll hear from Mike Borgonzi tomorrow. But in the meantime, it was an insane day of games, a crazy Sunday night football game as the Steelers take the AFC North. Saturday night didn't bring a ton of thrills in the fight for the 1 seed. The Seahawks kind of just manhandled the 49ers 13-3. They have the first round bye in the NFC. The Broncos shut down the Chargers, who had Trey Lance playing quarterback. They will have the first round bye in the AFC. But as you look at the playoff picture, I am so intrigued by the team with the longest active winning streak in the NFL going into the postseason, and that's the Texans. Of all the long winning streaks that we saw this year, the Patriots, the Broncos went a couple months without losing. The Jags have won 8 in a row after yesterday's 41-7 win over the Titans. But it's the Texans with 9 straight wins that technically come into the postseason as the hottest team in the NFL. And they go to Pittsburgh on Monday night in the wild card round to fight for a spot in the divisional round. Of the AFC matchups, which we're going to get into throughout the course of the week, there's coaching news to come down throughout the course of the day, and we'll continue to provide updates on the Titans coaching search. We'll get Brett Kern's thoughts on it coming up next. But, Robert, which AFC matchup stands out the most as we have the playoff picture set? Bills at Jags, Chargers at Patriots, or Texans at Steelers?
As in, what will be the best game?
Yes.
Or, okay, the best game for me will be Texans-Steelers, to watch them go up against a real defense and get their ass busted. That'll be fun.
Talking about Pittsburgh.
Yeah, oh yeah. Because they got the spot. They're going to the playoffs.
They are. We don't have to talk about it. We'll talk about it with Brett Kern in studio coming up next. It is 11 o'clock. Good morning from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans' regular season ended with a 41-7 loss at the Jaguars on Sunday. The Jags scored 41 unanswered after the Titans took an early 7-0 lead on a Cam Ward touchdown run. Ward injured his shoulder on the play and did not return. Mike McCoy will meet with the media today at 12:30 with any potential updates. The Jags are AFC South champs, and the Titans' season ends at 3-14. They will turn to the offseason with the number 4 overall pick in the draft. Meanwhile, the Titans have put in the first head coaching interview requests, according to multiple reports, including Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport. Some of the names involved, the Titans have requested to speak to Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, as well as Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. It is Black Monday in the National Football League. Kevin Stefanski has been fired as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and this just coming down, Jonathan Gannon has been fired as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, who finished with a run of 9 straight losses. The NFL playoff picture is set. Steelers are AFC North champs after edging out the Ravens on Sunday Night Football 26-24. The Broncos wrapped up the 1 seed in the AFC, and the Seahawks will have the first round bye in the NFC. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. The regular season is over. It's on to the playoffs. It's on to coaching search season, and it's on to Brett Kern joining us in studio as Buck is off to the facility for open locker room. Lucas and Bert with you until 1. We're fueled by Hattie B's hot chicken. And Brett Kern, Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year.
How was it?
It was good.
Was it crazy?
Crazy. Actually stayed up past midnight, which was pretty rare for me personally, but the kids enjoyed it. We had a good time. It's always fun to celebrate the new year, and yeah, it was good. Just go back to school tomorrow, so one more day with them, taking down all the Christmas stuff, and yeah, it's been good to hang out with them.
Well, news is coming hard and fast in the NFL. Some expected, some unexpected. Another opening, as we just mentioned, Jonathan Gannon has been fired as the head coach of the Cardinals. That makes for 6 head coaching openings in the NFL. You were a part of a few Titans teams that had some head coaching turnover. What is this day like for players? I know it's locker room clean-out day. Are you focused on other stuff, especially after a season like what the Titans just had? Like, mentally, what is this week like? How much were you trying to stay up to date on what the next steps were going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it happens quick. I think sometimes you have a general idea of what's going to happen, what's going to go down. But yeah, I mean, there's some times where the year's done and you just want to get your locker cleaned and you want to get out of there ASAP and just get to the off season. And then there's other times where you know, whether it's some of your really good buddies, good friends, they're free agents, might not be coming back. You're not sure, if your coordinator's going to be gone, if he's staying. And so you maybe hang out there for longer than you normally would. And so I think it just depends on, your buddies on the team, coaches on the team, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, some of these guys obviously love their coordinators or whoever their position coaches are, and might spend a little bit more time with them just because they know there's going to be change here, in Nashville. So, yeah. And there's other times where, I remember, when I was in Denver and Coach Shanahan was the head coach, and my wife and I went up to the mountains just for like a day getaway kind of like trip just to go check them out. And we're up there and we have no reception, no nothing. And we come back down and we finally get, some radio reception, all that kind of stuff. And we hear on the radio that, Coach Shanahan's been fired. So, it can... A lot of times it does happen on Mondays, obviously Black Monday, but then there's times where it could come tomorrow or you just don't know. But yeah, it can be sad. Today can be a sad day.
Browns, Cardinals, Falcons, Giants, Raiders, Titans. And we'll see if any more come down. I guess the one candidate at this point that could still be let go would be Mike McDaniel in Miami, right? We have not seen a vote of confidence or a statement from the Dolphins the way the Bengals have put out regarding Zach Taylor. The Cardinals, for what it's worth, are retaining Monty Austin as the general manager, who you would have overlapped with certainly at the Titans. Guy. But another program, another franchise that will not have that clean reset as far as head coach and GM timeline.
I wonder what the Dolphins are going to do, too, obviously with GM. Obviously, my good buddy Champ, the interim GM. But, I think they want to hire a GM first, and then they can evaluate the head coach. So maybe that's something that, if they can get a GM here in the next week or two and go through that process. So that might be something later because you want to do it the right way. You don't want to hire a GM and then, hey, this is the coach you got to work with. I think we've seen that in Tennessee a couple times where it's just the things get out of whack. And so I'll be curious to see about that. Which job opening do you think is the most desirable?
There's so many.
Because, what do you do? Obviously, Arizona, what do you do with Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
Obviously, Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's the highest cap hit next year, $80 million. That's 26.5% of your cap.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know if he's going to be healthy. The guy's got probably not a lot of ligaments left in his knee.
Every job, I feel like, has one aspect of it that is appealing, right? When you go down the list, obviously the Titans have Cam Ward to work with.
100%.
It's Mike Borgonzi's show at this point. If you have a relationship and a respect for Mike Borgonzi as a candidate, you can probably feel secure that there won't be external factors kind of dipping in. For the Falcons, that's a roster.
That's a roster.
That could,
offensively especially.
Right? That was literally one win from the playoffs. Yeah. This year. If the Falcons go 9-8, not 8-9, they're NFC South champs.
Right.
And obviously that's the quarterback question there is Michael Penix Jr. Then there's the Browns that, have parts and pieces of a talent roster. Excellent rookie class from Andrew Berry, Myles Garrett. But like you said, the Deshaun Watson contract. The Cardinals have the Kyler Murray contract.
Right.
The Giants have fun foundational parts and pieces on both sides of the ball in Jackson Dart to build around, but can you trust that the guy will be healthy in 2 years? So all of these feel like they're all over the place on the spectrum of attractiveness, right?
Yeah.
Like some of them have the young quarterback, the foundational prospect. Some of them have a more clean slate than others. I'd say the Titans have the cleanest slate of all of these with the roster, how many needs there are, how much cap space they have, top 5 draft pick. And some have some pretty big obstacles, like the Kyler Murray contract and the Brown situation. What to you, does one stick out?
I just wonder, because Jacksonville yesterday, the turnaround that they've made. They were 4-14. 4-13 last year, right, under Doug Peterson, and to flip it around under Liam Cohen to be the division winner. Like, I wonder, with all these openings, is there a team out of this collection that can make that switch, right, for next year, for next season? I don't know. I think the Titans are set up, in a pretty positive. Yeah, they have needs. They have some glaring needs. They have some issues. But just I think there's a foundation. And I think if you can add pieces, you have another solid draft, and you add some pieces through free agency, you get the right coach in there, you get a scheme that Cam's really comfortable with. Do I think they can make the turn that the Jags did? I don't know, but I definitely think they can be in contention for a playoff spot.
The Jags, the Patriots, and the Bears, the 3 worst to first teams in the playoffs this year. Now, the Jags weren't technically last place in the AFC South last year. Obviously, that was the Titans, but you get what we're saying, right? 4 wins to first place, all 3 hosting in the playoffs. Jags hosting the Bills, Patriots hosting the Chargers, and the Bears is the 2 seed hosting the Packers.
Again,
yeah, that's going to be awesome.
And that's crazy, too, because, I was looking at stuff on Chicago, and they led the league with 23 interceptions, right? But their defense is ranked 29th in total defense. And they have the most fourth quarter comebacks this year with 6. And they had to do it last time they played at home against the Packers. They were up, Packers were up 16-6, 5 minutes to go in the game?
Yep.
And so that'll be an interesting matchup. But yeah, it's, I was digging in on turnover margin and all that kind of stuff. And, there was 13 teams this year that finished in the positive in the turnover margin, and 10 of them made the playoffs. That's 77%. That's pretty darn good. The Bucks, the Falcons, and the Lions were the 3 teams that weren't in the playoffs in that top 13. But Bears plus 22 led the league, and then you get the Texans and the Jags right there at 2 and 3. Rams and Steelers both tied at 11. But yeah, it's I'll be really curious to see. There's some really good matchups. I think that Jags Bills game is going to be on my radar as probably the most intriguing game to watch.
Kevin Byard, by the way, league leader in interceptions.
7 interceptions
yesterday. Yep.
Yes.
But in terms of the worst to first conversation, there's the Jag situation where Liam Cohen has come in and he's taken Trevor Lawrence to this level that he hasn't played at in his career. And obviously they've made that leap. But the more comparable, if you're a Titans fan and you're clinging on to some level of hope for a massive leap in 2026, obviously would have to be Bears and Patriots. I'd say more Patriots than Bears in terms of the state of the roster, right? Both have year 2 quarterbacks that have taken a huge leap in their careers. But the Patriots roster, the place that it was in at the end of last year, felt like it was a multi-year rebuild. And even going into this year, Brett, I don't remember what the preseason over-under on wins was for New England, but it wasn't that much better than the Titans, right? Like we were...
Was it like 5.5?
Titans was 5.5. I wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots was right there. Yeah, we looked at the Titans and Patriots as being in very similar situations going in. The key difference being Cam Ward as a rookie and Drake May in year 2. And obviously Mike Vrabel as a head coach that had been there and done that, but still felt like such an uphill climb. They spent in free agency. They hit in the draft. They get cornerstone pieces on the offensive line out of the draft. And here they are. They're hosting, and they were a Broncos loss yesterday away from being the 1 seed in the AFC.
Seed. I know.
So these are things that we do see happen. Not that often, but they do happen. But how much of an uphill climb is it for this Titans team? Like with the totality of the season now in the rear view, to you, just how realistic is that kind of leap next year if the Titans do come in here with the right head coach? And obviously the asterisk is the required sort of footnote there is that Cam Ward takes that step.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very doable. I think you saw, positive progression, towards the end of the year. Obviously, we talked about the running game, Luke Stalker, helping out with the run game a lot. And you were able to see, what a running game does for Cam and how it helped him out. And obviously the offensive explosion that they had, being able to score some points. And I mean, yesterday, if Cam was healthy the whole game, I think it would have been a much closer game, obviously. But, that's just the way it goes, unfortunately for him. Hopefully his rehab can be, on the quicker side so that way he can get back to, off-season, training, fundamentals, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's realistic. I mean, look, the league is set up for parity, right? It's set up so that if you are in the basement for a little bit, you shouldn't be there very long, right? And so for the Titans, I feel like you make the right hire, whether you want to go offensive minded coach or defensive minded coach. Obviously, that's up for debate. But to see the progression that a lot of these young guys made, obviously, Jeff Simmons is somebody that you want to build around on defense. Clearly, he made that very clear to everybody. I know there were a lot of people talking about trading him and this and that, get more picks, but Big Jeff is somebody that you want to build your defense around. And so, like you said, if you hit on another draft, you get these guys that were first-year players, into their second year, you get a little bit more development. There's not such a deer in the headlights look at times. For the rookies, and you spend wisely in free agency to fill some of these pieces. I mean, I don't see why. I've been a part of the 2-14s, the 3-13s, and then you go 8-8 the next year, and then 2017 we're in the playoffs. Like it's very doable if they do it right. Like I said, they draft right. They fill the holes right. You get the right coach in there with a good scheme, and there's no reason why, like I said, the Titans can't be contending for the playoffs.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. What do you think is the most attractive opening in the NFL? There are now 6 with the Cardinals firing head coach Jonathan Gannon. We'll get into that and some of the regular season finale action from over the weekend coming up next. Titans, Giants, Browns, Falcons, Raiders, Cardinals. Those are your head coaching openings. As of right now, we'll see if we get anything coming down from Miami. Welcome back. We're fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Buck is in the locker room talking to Titans players. Brett Kern is in studio. We will hear from Mike McCoy, the Titans interim coach, coming up at 12:30. So that question of the most attractive opening, it feels like the easiest answer would be Atlanta, simply because of the idea of walking into a ready-made roster that if you can work with the quarterback and he can stay healthy and put him in a position to succeed.
Which quarterback?
Michael Penix Jr. But that's the other part of this too, right? That Kirk Cousins contract is still around.
That's, let's see, what is it here on Spot Rap? $57 million cap hit. Almost 20% of the cap in Kirk Cousins.
He'll be 38
this
next
year,
year.
for 2026 and 2027, UFA come 2028. And Bijan and Drake London are both eligible for extensions this year as well. So
they would if they wanted out of the Kirk Cousins deal, they would have to eat $35 million in dead cap this offseason, which I guess is feasible if you believe you're going to move forward no matter what with Michael Penix Jr. And I wonder if at the end of the day, that's kind of what got Terry Fontenot fired.
can he stay? Well, the Kirk Cousins contract?
The contract on top of selecting Michael Penix with the top 10 pick. That
do you think he could stay healthy for a full season?
Right, and that's the big question with him.
Right.
But weak division too, it just feels like, again, health has to be assumed. If Michael Penix Jr. can take that leap and you as a candidate believe you can help him down that road, then there's not a better situation to walk into as far as the roster is concerned than what Atlanta has going on. But if you're looking for more of a clean slate, Brett, it's hard not to say the Titans. It's either the Titans or the Giants, but there are legitimate concerns about Jackson Dart and his health and his, I guess, lack of an ability to
longevity and how he plays.
Yeah, and just this lack of a willingness to understand how limiting that could be for him, right? There's been this sort of stubbornness at every turn when he's been asked about it, and that's a red flag for a guy like Jackson Dart. But on the other hand, the Giants probably have more pieces around Jackson Dart on both sides of the ball.
Ready to win type.
Yeah. I would say so. Like, I would say the likes, that pass rush, what they have in Dexter Lawrence and Abdul Carter and Brian Burns, Malik Neighbors on the offensive side, Cam Scadaboo. Both
coming off pretty serious injuries, too.
Yeah, both Neighbors and Scadaboo.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like, these openings are just all over the place and kind of what they offer for candidates across the league.
Yeah, and then you also got, with all these openings, which GM would you most like to work with as well? I think that's a key, contributor to a lot of things. Which GM, how's your relationship? Obviously, you look like Mike Bergonzi and his relationship with Nagy. Like, obviously, they're very close. That's important, to have that relationship, to be on the same page, especially when it comes to roster management, roster control, simple things of who's dressing on Sunday, who's sitting out. That relationship's very important.
Robert, where do things currently stand? Where do things feel like they stand with John Harbaugh in Baltimore?
To me, it feels like he's going to be back another year. They're probably just going to fire Zach Orr and move on from him that way. But the longer that nothing is said, the more skeptical I am that he would return. But as of right now, I would imagine they would make a coordinator change and Harbaugh would stay in place.
I wonder about that, and I wonder about Pittsburgh. Let's say the Steelers, Brett,
get throttled against Houston?
Just lose to Houston, who is hot, like we mentioned, nine wins in a row. That's the longest active streak in the league. Does the script kind of flip on Mike Tomlin and go back to more of what it was throughout the course of the year, to where it's, you won the division, but not because you kind of rose up and went back to the Mike Tomlin teams of old. It was more the AFC North as a whole kind of dipped to the level that the Steelers have been playing at, right around that 500 mark.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I think, I've been, with Coach Tomlin. He was a Pro Bowl coach when I was down there, and he is just he is a really good dude. And we ended up playing up there. I think it was a year later, 2 years later in the preseason, and he came up to me and he's like, "Hey man, how's your boy Bryce doing?" And I'm like, "Wow, you got the memory of an elephant, my man." So, but yeah, I mean, it's, it's tough because I think there's a lot of franchises, a lot of organizations that would take what Pittsburgh has, kind of that consistency, even though it's just not Super Bowl contending type stuff. I mean, you're there. You're in the playoffs. You have a chance every year. It feels like. I mean, Mike Tomlin, does he have a losing record at all?
No losing season.
That's remarkable. And so I just I don't know. He hasn't really done anything in particular to get fired. I'd say the same thing about Harbaugh. I mean, you're one kick away, a 44-yard kick away from being in the playoffs. So it's tough. But I think both are excellent coaches, and I don't think either of them should be fired.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Titans players currently clearing out lockers. I'm sure we'll start to see some
clean them out.
Audio and interview. What is that day like, by the way?
You just get a big old black trash bag and, put all your cleats in there. You can donate, Jeb. I think there's about, 10, 11 boxes, tall boxes. You can, donate. If you want to donate your shoes, your gloves, things that you wore to certain places around town, you can definitely do that. You can take home what you want to take home. A lot of it, is just you're just saying bye to some guys that if they don't live in Nashville, they're going back home to wherever home is for the off season. Some guys you'll see again here in 2-3 months. Other guys you don't know if you'll see them again, just based on if they're free agents or not. And then coaches too. Sometimes you'll be like, hey man, I'll see you in a couple months. Other times, like this group of coaches, maybe a couple of them stay and get retained. Others, might move on, and you have to say bye to them. So,
well, Mike McCoy will speak in about an hour. We'll carry that for you live. See what he has to say about Cam Ward, as there is reporting. Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter dropping this about Cam Ward. Good news on the rookie quarterback that exams revealed an AC joint sprain in his shoulder. No surgery will be required.
Good.
So
I think the worst could have been a labrum tear, which is that's not good. There's your whole offseason down the drain in rehab. So
Ian Rappaport saying best case scenario, given the circumstances I had parenthetically, heading into the offseason. Jeff Howe of The Athletic reported it as a grade 3 sprain. That report came right as the game pretty much ended in Jacksonville.
Interesting.
But, Brett, you can't say worst case scenario, obviously, because, the injury could have been worse. And the idea of Cam Ward having to sit or have surgery for months and months of recovery would have been the worst case scenario. But how do you kind of process, now that we've had almost 24 hours, certainly since the end of Cam Ward's rookie season, what we've seen from the rookie quarterback, the circumstances the Titans were in, head coaching change, play caller change, the reliance on the rookies around him, the amount of injuries around him on both sides of the ball, and the final numbers for Cam Ward in his rookie season. He completes 59.8% of his passes for 3,169 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 159 rush yards, and 2 touchdowns. What is kind of your final assessment of Cam Ward after his rookie year?
Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how he's improved throughout the year. I know that comes with whether it's play calling change, offensive stuff, but for him to get in essence 16 games and one heck of a opening drive in that 17th game. I think there was great improvement for him, and I think there's things, obviously taking 55 sacks, not all were his fault, but there was, some that were definitely his fault. And to be able to, maybe this might be a good thing for him, and just, obviously he'll be in rehab and all that kind of stuff, but to just sit back and just maybe just be able to watch everything, and not under, a weekly routine where you just feel like, man, I'm in here at 5 o'clock in the morning watching film, at night watching film. Now he can just kind of slow down a little bit and just process everything that he did throughout the season. But there was improvement. There were some throws that he made that I'm like, that is legit. That is a really good throw. And there's some that you're like, man, his feet were off balance. You can tell he's trying to sidearm it. It's short, it's in the dirt. It's airmailed. Some throws, the timing was off rhythm-wise. But, overall, like I said, I was happy just to see improvement throughout the season. And it looked like as he went, there was improvement. There was, he was a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. You could tell there were times where he was using his feet, which is great. There's other times, where he wasn't. And I think being able to go back and watch that film and process it, being able to understand, certain looks I can take off, other looks, I'm just going to have to stay in the pocket and take it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be excited about, with him as far as, going to the off season and, looking forward to next year.
By the way, Chimere Dike and Alec Iomanner, while we're talking about the rookies, first of all, it's insane how healthy the rookies on the offensive side of the ball remained all year, right up until the end.
Especially DK, because for him, those kickoffs and punts, there are some pretty big collisions. You got somebody running 30, 40 yards, and you got somebody else coming at you from 15, 20 yards, and that collision, for him to be able to stay healthy in both return games, punt return, kickoff return, and then on offense, man, that's pretty impressive.
Alec Iomanner and Chimere Dike, healthy essentially the whole way. Alec missed 1 to 2 games kind of in the middle part of the season. Maybe it was longer than that.
I thought it was only 2.
It might have been just 2 games for Alec Iomanner. Chimere Dike healthy the whole way. Gunnar Helm was inactive on Sunday with a toe injury. First game he missed in his rookie season.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cam Ward, we touted that stat that he was the only quarterback to play every snap with his offense all year until the end of that opening drive. Alec Iomanner played in 16 games, so he ended up missing, got hurt in one, and only missed one that he did not participate in. And end of the day, Alec Iomanner and Chimere Dike, the third rookie wide receiver duo in NFL history with 40 or more catches, 400 or more yards, and 4 or more receiving touchdowns apiece, as they were the co-leaders for the team in receiving touchdowns. I mean, you balance that with the fact that the Titans had no Calvin Ridley for the majority of the year, that they were essentially wide receiver 1 and 2 during Cam Ward's rookie year for the bulk of it. And the fact that, that they stepped up in some moments. It wasn't as consistent for a guy like Alec Iomanner as you would have liked with the start of the year that he had. But for a pair of rookie fourth-rounders, Brett, it's hard to have asked any more, especially when you're talking about Chimere Dike breaking an NFL record for a rookie in all-purpose yardage.
Yeah, you definitely got a lot out of them, and probably a lot more than you thought you would out of those two guys. And even like Gunnar Helm, the production that he was able to have, and even somebody like Chig. I mean, obviously Chig having, career high, 56 receptions this year, 10 yards per catch. That's pretty remarkable too. So, and Chig's ability, his yak after contact, man, it was really impressive. Just his balance when he's hit, he can stay up, he can stay on his feet and just gain yards. So I think he was around 350 yards a yak this year. So that's something positive too. I'd love to see what the Titans are going to do with him. But there were bright spots throughout the year with certain guys, and especially to get this production from these guys. Like, can one of these guys turn into Amon-Ra, right, 4th round pick, or a Diggs, a Stephon Diggs, who's a 5th round pick, and just have consistent production. And so obviously they've laid a foundation, a base layer of what they can do, and hopefully whoever's coming in, the head coach, offensive coordinator, can use these guys, build upon these guys, and like I said, get somebody in free agency or the draft, just that number one target that I think the Titans need, just to kind of take pressure off Cam, take pressure off some of these other guys as far as having to get open all the time. But that's pretty impressive for these rookies. It was fun to watch them.
Chig Okonkwo, a free agent. We'll see what his situation looks like. He kind of sent a thank you message to Titans fans on social media yesterday with the career high season in receiving yards. A few career highs. Tony Pollard, a career high in rushing. He hit it yesterday. Jeffrey Simmons, obviously.
11 sacks. That's
monster season.
Monster season for the big man.
Diana Rossini reporting, if you're just joining us, by the way, multiple reports that Cam Ward will not need offseason surgery with the shoulder injury he suffered yesterday in Jacksonville. He has a sprained AC joint. That's from Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. We'll see if we hear more from Mike McCoy a little bit later. It is, of course, Black Monday. Coaches are being fired, including Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. Diana Rossini reporting Kevin Stefanski is eager to jump back into the head coaching ranks. She is told teams with vacancies are expected to show interest in the 2-time Coach of the Year winner. Do you have any sort of parameters when it comes to the Titans' next head coach?
I think it just comes down to, do you want somebody offensive background compared to a defensive background? What do you prefer? Like we were talking about with the Bucs. Obviously, Bowles with a defensive background, Canales gets swiped off to Carolina, and then you got Liam Cohen. He gets swiped off to Jacksonville, and you're going through coordinators, and you could see kind of the roller coaster ride of the Bucs offense. I know they had injuries this year, but it just wasn't what they were last year under Liam Cohen, right? And so where you got the defensive coordinators, obviously there's solid defense, there's a base, there's a foundation. Are you able to retain offensive guys? How quickly do you go through them? But your base is still solid, right? So it's just, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the San Francisco Rams where you have Shanahan and you got McVay? Obviously, if these guys are getting their coordinators plucked, you still have that foundation of that offense there. So your quarterback's not having to adjust. You look at Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think he had 5 coordinators in 5 years, right? And so here he is finally under Liam Cohen with consistency, and look what that looks like. So obviously it's your preference. You could debate about it if you want an offensive guy, defensive guy. Do you want a guy that has coaching experience already? To me, I think it's very important for a head coach to have the ability to delegate. As a head coach, you put a lot on your plate. You're really in your office focused on A, B, and C, where if you can delegate, that gives you more time to hop around into meetings, be a little bit more relational with players. You can, hang out in the special teams room, for a 40-minute special teams meeting, and you see what's going on there. So I think it's very important for a head coach, whoever that might be coming in, to be able to delegate, to be able to say, hey, look, I got a D coordinator. He's going to call the defense. I got an offensive coordinator. He's going to call the offense. And I'm just kind of going to manage players on the sideline, be more in tune with game situations in game. So, like I said, I can totally understand the Matt Nagy interest, just because there's that relationship, and I think you saw kind of the relationship with John Robinson and Mike Vrabel, what that turned into, and the success that we had here, just guys being on the same page with everything, and so that's obviously an important thing. And so I think Mike's going to obviously do a search. Extensive search, but at the end of the day, he's going to want to pick somebody that he trusts, that he knows, and that he has a great relationship with.
Again, Matt Nagy, Vance Joseph, Lou Anarumo, Steve Spagnuolo, some of the names confirmed that the Titans have requested head coaching interviews with. And Mike McCarthy, Kevin Stefanski are not coaches that we necessarily will see. The Titans don't have to request an interview with those guys.
What would you prefer? Would you prefer an offensive guy or a defensive guy?
Everything in my gut, Brett, would tell me an offensive-minded coach. Yeah. But if anything, the last 2 years or the Brian Callahan experience with the Titans has me wanting to totally pivot away from putting any boxes or guardrails up on, the next head coach of the Titans has to fit this sort of profile. Right? Like, it's hard for me because number 1 seed in the NFC right now, the Seattle Seahawks, right? And Mike McDonald, who even got a mulligan on his first offensive coordinator hire in Ryan Grubb. It doesn't work. He fires him after year 1. Grubb's now at Alabama with Kalen DeBoer. Goes and gets Clint Kubiak. They're the number 1 overall seed. I just am going to be wary of.
But then I'd be curious to see what happens in Seattle if Clint Kubiak, if he gets plucked for Arizona.
Yeah, and that's going to be
Raiders.
The ultimate litmus test there.
Who's there? Are you able to hire in-house?
Yeah.
Because I saw it with Philly. Like, Steichen was there when I was there, and it's great. And then Kellen Moore comes in. Like, they've been through 3 different offensive coordinators in 3 years, right? And 2 of them are head coaches, and now Patullo, obviously the OC there now, and you just see just kind of that roller coaster ride. So, I don't know. I'd be curious to see, how, like I said, if I think Kubiak will get a job somewhere else, but like, how does Seattle respond? But that defense is still going to be that defense. You say the same in Houston, right? That defense is scary, and that defense is going to be there to stay for a while, right? But then you have this offensive coordinator, you're just kind of shuffling through guys and hoping that something sticks.
Yeah, I think most Titans fans will say they want an offensive-minded head coach that can come in, get his fingerprints on Cam Ward,
right?
Develop him going into year 2. I'm just going to be wary of just drawing a box,
Right.
and saying, because everybody here was celebrating the Brian Callahan hire, right? Like if you were to poll fan bases after the Commanders hired Dan Quinn and the Titans hired Brian Callahan, I could tell you which fan base would have, the approval rating of the hire would have been a lot higher here, was a lot higher here.
Yeah.
And the Commanders were in the NFC Championship year one, and here are the Titans with a head coaching vacancy. So it's going to be interesting. Clint Kubiak, you mentioned, for what it's worth, not a name that has popped up as of yet. In terms of interview requests with the Titans. Obviously, the Seahawks are focusing on a playoff run. They've got a first-round bye. But it's going to be an interesting few weeks. It's coaching search season.
Yeah, the team that gets the first-round bye in the NFC is 9-8 at home, and they're 15-2 on the road under Mike Macdonald. So,
Brett, appreciate it as always, man.
Absolutely.
See you Friday.
My pleasure being the out of the bullpen today.
Brett Kern, we'll have you back on Friday?
If we're doing pick'ems, I'm here.
We'll do it. Playoff action, college and NFL. Brett Kern, Titans legend, with us in studio. Let's recap some of the college football playoff action that we have had no time to do coming up next. This is one of the most interesting days of the year when it comes to doing the radio show, because you're trying to put a bow on the season that has come to an end for the Tennessee Titans, kind of evaluate what you saw from Cam Ward, the rest of the rookies. You're in ultimate news update mode as it's Black Monday in the NFL. Coaches are getting fired left and right, trying to monitor and start the conversation about the Titans head coaching search. NFL playoff picture is set. And then 4 days ago, whatever it was, the college football playoff Final Four was set in stone with some duds, but also some games that made you question everything you thought you had ever known about college football in our lifetimes. Welcome back. Buck is at the facility talking to Titans players on Locker Room Cleanout Day. Mike McCoy will meet with the media coming up at 12:30. We will get back to Titans coaching search, news and notes from not just here, but across the NFL. Lucas and Bert with you until 1 o'clock. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. We are also on the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, where Tyler asks, if Ole Miss wins it all, does Lane Kiffin get a ring? Maybe we should put that to a poll at some point. Ole Miss outscores Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, 39-34. Trinidad Chambliss putting together an all-time performance to knock off the Bulldogs. 30 of 46, 362, 2 touchdowns. Just some eye-popping plays, extending plays, off schedule to keep Ole Miss alive in this game. And there was a moment in this game where you could see the collapse when a face mask on Georgia was not called on, I believe it was a second down. It led to an Ole Miss punt. And Georgia was able to drive down the field and tie the game with less than a minute to go. In that moment, it just felt like one of those breaks that you can't have go against you that would cost Ole Miss. And as the game looked like it was destined for overtime, Trinidad Chambliss appears with a deep shot over the middle. Ole Miss able to get the job done and win the game, 39-34, with a touchdown at the end of it. Didn't even need the walk-off field goal. And here's Pete Golding and the rest of this Ole Miss staff, the smorgasbord of coaches that are going to stay and coaches that are going to leave, and then this in-between of 5 or 6 coaches has been reported that it's unclear whether they're going to finish this out with Ole Miss. Well, they play Miami on Thursday, and yet still it feels like Ole Miss has the juice to win that game and play for a national championship, but they'll have to do it against a Miami team that was dominant against the number 2 overall seed in the first round. Up front, they didn't blow out Ohio State by any means, but the control that Miami exerted over Ohio State in this game, going up 14-0, holding off Ohio State, making plays, a pick 6 on defense, just grinding in the run game, outrushing Ohio State 153-45. That Miami pass rush, something Julian Sand has not seen all year. And here we have Miami and Ole Miss playing for a spot in the national championship. In a situation where 3 out of the 4 teams left in the college football playoff, if they were to win the national title, will be winning it for the first time in their program's history. The 4th obviously being Miami, bringing them back to the glory days of the U, something they've been chasing for almost 25 years at this point. Mario Cristobal, by the way, so much attention. All we talk about in this college football playoff is Curt Cignetti, with such good reason, who has done the most incomprehensibly good job, in my opinion, in college football history with what he's done at IU. But I do think a moment needs to be had for Mario Cristobal here and a Miami team that I thought was toast when they lost to SMU, picked up that second loss, did not have a path to the ACC championship game, and were outside looking in the playoff rankings before the committee ultimately did what's right with the most stumbling, fumbling way to get there and putting Miami in over Notre Dame as they had the head-to-head. I don't even want to say they backdoored their way into the playoff. It's kind of what it felt like because it was this buzzer-beater day of thing on Selection Sunday. But Mario Cristobal, when he arrived at Miami, had this pledge to make Miami one of the best teams in the country up front, one of the best line of scrimmage teams that any given program would have on their schedule. And while he was doing that, trying to accomplish that, and bringing in talents like Francis Maui-Go on offense and Ruben Bain on defense, maybe a future Titan, he's certainly driving his stock up during this playoff run. While he was doing that, there were some bumps, right? Mario Cristobal had some bad coaching moments. He had some bad losses, bad decision, head-scratching coaching decisions that directly cost Miami games, playoff spots. But they're here. And now that they're here, they're fully flexing that muscle that Mario Cristobal pledged he was going to come in and bring to Miami, and they've done that up front. They're the best team on the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball left in the field. As they get ready to go up against Ole Miss, where you feel confident that Miami's going to be able to get after Trinidad Chambliss, but will Trinidad Chambliss continue to have that magic moving forward here for Ole Miss? And, Robert, I don't know what the most storybook finish to the college football playoff would be. Because it's easy to say Kurt Cignetti in Indiana, and that's probably the answer. But if Ole Miss wins the national championship after all the Lane Kiffin stuff, if Mario Cristobal leads Miami back to glory after getting in on Selection Sunday, if Dan Lanning is the one to finally bring Oregon over the hump, we've not had a Final Four like this from a narrative standpoint. It's just been awesome. And there were some blowouts, and everybody was watching in awe as Indiana just stomped Alabama into the ground at the Rose Bowl. But I don't know what the most sort of storybook movie ending to this would be.
It would probably be Ole Miss. Pete Golding rallying the troops. The guy who brought you all here is left, but I'm here kind of thing. And it remains to be seen whether Lane Kiffin will get a ring if they win or not. But he did get a $500,000 bonus from their win. LSU agreeing to pay out any of the playoff bonuses he would have received with Ole Miss. So he is still making money for Ole Miss's success.
That ring question is fascinating to me.
He should get one. I know you're butthurt. Like, if you're the Ole Miss people, but he's the one that put you in that situation. You give him a ring.
Yeah, he built the team. I'm with you. I hate the way Lane Kiffin, I hate every facet of how he's handled the last 2 weeks. But he built that football team. And then we're going to have to just separate time to talk about Indiana, because that's just this whole conversation in and of itself. And I don't want us to just be redundant. And every time we talk about IU, it's this head-scratching, how are they doing this? We can't compute what's happening. But they're just the most disciplined, well-coached, fundamentally good team in the country this year. That's just what they are. And now it's rematch time. And they face an Oregon team at the Peach Bowl on Friday that they went and beat by 10 at Autzen Stadium in the middle of the regular season. Great way to ring in the new year with the college football playoff. All right, Mike McCoy will speak to the media coming up in hour 3. We will continue to break down what the Titans need out of this upcoming coaching search next. It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Circa Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans' regular season is over after a 41-7 loss in Jacksonville Sunday. The Jags scored 41 unanswered after the Titans took an early 7-0 lead on a Cam Ward touchdown run. Ward injured his shoulder on the play, did not return. Mike McCoy will meet with the media today. Coming up in a few moments, Cam Ward also set to meet with the media, and we will carry that live right here on The Zone. Jacksonville, AFC South champs. The Titans season ends at 3-14. They turn to the offseason with the number 4 overall pick in the draft. And the Titans have put in head coaching interview requests to multiple candidates, according to Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, reporting that Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph are all among the names that the Titans have formally requested to interview. The NFL playoff picture is set. The Steelers, AFC North champs, after edging out the Ravens after a missed field goal on Sunday Night Football, 26-24. The Broncos wrapped up the 1 seed in the AFC, and the Seahawks have the first round bye in the NFC. In NFL coaching news this morning, the Cleveland Browns have fired head coach Kevin Stefanski after 6 seasons and 2 Coach of the Year wins. The Browns were 5-12 this year. The Cardinals also have fired Jonathan Gannon. Pete Carroll has been fired from the Raiders. That leaves the Titans, the Giants, the Browns, the Falcons, the Raiders, and the Cardinals as currently the openings across the league. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Final hour, putting a bow on the Titans' 2025 season. The NFL playoffs are next, but here locally, coaching search season is next. Free agency, the NFL draft, all of the touch points between now and then, the Senior Bowl, the Combine. It is full off-season mode in Music City as we welcome you back. Buck is at the Titans facility. We are set to hear from Titans quarterback Cam Ward and interim coach Mike McCoy at some point here in this hour. McCoy scheduled for 12:30. It sounds like we're going to get Cam Ward at the podium slightly before then. Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh with you until 1 o'clock, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Running out of football weekends and running out of time to enjoy some Hattie B's Hot Chicken while you're watching your college football or NFL playoff action here over the next few days. 615-737-1045. We are also on 1045 The Zone TV on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So, to reset here, the regular season is over. Playoff picture is set. We have hardly talked about the playoff matchups in the NFL as the Jags seal up an AFC South title. The Steelers get it done in the AFC North. The Seahawks clinch the 1 seed in the NFC, and not a very entertaining, but an impressively dominant performance from the Seahawks defense Saturday over San Francisco, 13-3 the final. Seattle will be at home for the wild card round, and Denver gets the job done. Trey Lance and the Chargers, man, just unable to even move the football against that Broncos defense yesterday at Mile High Stadium, and the Broncos are the 1 seed in the AFC. On Saturday, Rams at Panthers. In the wild card round, the Panthers backed into the postseason in the most NFC South fashion possible. 3 8-9 teams at the top of the NFC South, and the Carolina Panthers find a way to get in there. We'll talk about all of the matchups as well as all of the head coaching openings across the NFL. But for right now, Cam Ward, who, by the way, was reported by Adam Schefter moments ago, will not need offseason surgery to repair the injured shoulder. He is at the media now, or at the podium.
I got a couple months.
Thinking you don't need surgery?
I don't know that for sure. That's all in the training room. But if that's the case, we're gonna do what I need to do. But I don't think that's the case right now.
What's the biggest thing you learned from rookie season?
You just got to take every game and approach it a different way. You don't know who you're lining up against on the other side of the ball. You get a chance to see some freakish athletes out there in the world. And you just got to know how to operate with it. Get your guys the ball, And I've learned that throughout the year. They also, staying upright, staying healthy, and then, just trying to, finish go into next season, the same way we finished this season on offense.
How does the injury change your plans to go and work on mechanics and through all the things that you wanted to shore up this offseason? How much does it push that back?
It doesn't push it back at all. I'm working on my base, on my mechanics. I'm not changing my throwing motion. So, the timetable for, what I have set to get to mechanically what I need to do is still, on schedule.
Yeah, when you're so competitive and hell-bent on winning, is that the mindset you take with an injury as well and the rehab process, or if not, what is that like for you?
Say that again?
Do you kind of take your same competitive mindset and that drive to win into a rehab process for an injury, or if not, what is your process and mindset in approaching that?
Oh, yeah, I do. Because I got the best part about, and the good part about being a quarterback, you got to stay healthy for your teammates. If, I'm not playing a lot of games, then majority of the time we're not going to be in a lot of games. So I just try to take my health as seriously as I can and just attacking it every day.
How important was the success you had at the end of the season, to you and your growth mentally and physically out on the field?
Really wasn't that important at all. I know I'm going to have success. I know I'm going to have bad days. So it's really just more of, doing what we did the back half of the season, but making that, be our football each and every time we step on the field.
Popular sentiment in the locker room today was everybody's seen what the Bears, Patriots, and Jaguars have done, and that you guys absolutely have to have the belief that can be you, not in 2 years, but next year.
Yeah, and we know we get there. Also, we got to, get the right head coach in here, which we will, and then get a couple more playmakers, just all around. And, we're gonna make that change from, my first year to the second year, whether it's wins, whether it's a lot of them, or whether we just get in the playoffs. But we're going to continue to push each other in the locker room, continue to get better in the offseason, the receivers, and, go, score a lot of points next year.
J.C. Latham, he said that you talked as an offense about the importance of continuing that run game, the identity. How important is that, and how much do you want to carry that over to next year?
That's the biggest thing we got to carry over. Once we start being efficient on offense, everyone find out and felt what it's supposed to look like on a consistent basis. And, we got the right guys, especially on offensive line, receiver room, everywhere else. But, we just got to continue to want to and, push each other. We got to continue to reach another level of accountability with each other. And that's something that, we're going to continue to get over the offseason. We just got to apply it next year.
You spoke about additional playmakers. I know you love the guys you have, but with more bound to come in, how much can that expand what this offense can do and what you'll be able to do?
It's going to do nothing but help it. From explosive standpoint to touchdown standpoint, just everywhere. The guys we have are the guys who's going to be here for the long time. So for us to just continue to build our connection to where we don't have relapses and have bad plays. And when we get the new young guys in here to, bring them with us and, not try to have them in the position that we were in this year.
You said you want to have input in the coaching process. What role do you want to play, and what message do you want to impart to Mike or whoever ultimately makes the call?
Really just the coach. Just the whole locker room. We just want someone who's going to lead us. Who's going to hold every player accountable. We know whether it's offense, defensive coach, they're going to always put us in the right situation. So we're not worried about that. It's more of we want a players coach who's going to listen to us. Care about our bodies and just do what he thinks is best for the team and the organization.
Obviously, you'll keep in contact with Mike throughout the course of the offseason, but what was kind of the exit interview for you like today?
Getting healthy on my shoulder. Doing the little things I need to do to become a better player next year. And then really just taking time off and just really focusing on film. Film can take care of a lot. I think film can take care of more of anything on the field can take care of. So, just learning more, about the game, watching film on defenses I didn't play this year because I might end up playing them in the future, and then just getting better as a player.
What was going through your head in the moments after the injury when you were heading off the field and then eventually the locker room?
Too much shit is going through my head. So hurting. Want to see if I could play. Trying to hurry up and get an X-ray done to see what the injury was. But I mean, everything happens for a reason. I was able to stay healthy for a majority of the year. And I just keep praying that God continues to bless me that way.
Did you hear or feel it pop or anything, or was it just kind of you could sense something?
I just felt something. Yep.
Where'd that rank on the pain meter compared to other things you've suffered during your football career?
I mean, I got up off the field, so it was fine.
And what is it specifically about Mike Borgonzi that gives you the confidence that he can turn things around for next year?
He's got a vision. We see eye to eye. The draft class that he brought in proved it. And he's a GM who's connected to his players. He wants to know things about them, about their family, everything. So he's within the building, and it's good because no matter whether we want to get someone in the draft or we want to sign somebody for agency, he's gonna make the right call. He's gonna make the right call at the head coach, and we're gonna all be behind him.
When you think back to the beginning of this year, not on the field, but in the locker room and in the building, how much progress do you see in terms of the culture that you guys are trying to build, those of you that are fundamental parts of this team going forward?
It's getting better every week. It's not where it needs to be, but it's something that's gonna change fast. It's something that we're gonna change as soon as we get back. So I'm excited. We have the locker room to do it. We got a locker room to win a lot of games. And that's gonna be our expectation next year.
Is that culture built inside the locker room, or is it something that a new coach can add to?
It's both. The players got to build it, but the coach got to maintain it. And it's something that it can't always be a player-led team. A player-led team is good, but if you have a coach who emphasizes it and stays on it and holds you accountable, it takes care of everything else.
Is there a next step you'd really like to see the culture take next year?
Really just winning more games. I think winning more games can establish a culture. And then everybody, continue doing what they're doing, taking some time off, getting better, individually what they need to work on. But when we get back here, we just got to take the next step, as a brotherhood.
When you say the culture isn't where it should be, what is your reference point for what the culture should look like?
The culture should be really a mindset, and it don't matter who we play, don't matter how you feel, the goal is to win. Every game, no matter how you get there, what you got to do to get there, before the game, after the game, but the goal is to win. I think once we, have that mindset each and every day, because it starts at practice. Once you get that mindset, everything else will handle itself.
This first season in pro ball, how much did it match your expectations you had coming in? Anything surprise you? Is this about what you thought it'd be? What did you learn this year?
First thing I learned, get your helmet down on quarterback sneak or they'll pop your ass. Another thing I learned, you can throw late back across the middle in the NFL. I say that the third thing I learned is, you gotta really, love the game to play it. I see a lot of guys who love it, but it's a way that you can love it really more. And it doesn't matter, what you do outside the building. No one knows what you do outside the building, but when you're in the building, how you handle yourself, how you watch film, how you be around your teammates, how you interact with other people across the building. It goes a long way, and that's what I'm excited for. The building's changing, everyone's changing for the better, and I'm just glad that I can be a part of it.
Did you have any objection to the hit on the play you got hurt on?
What you mean?
You have any beef with that? Did you think he was late or anything like that?
I mean, he's a football player. He's trying to make a play. He's trying to stop me from scoring, man.
Appreciate it.
That is Titans quarterback Cam Ward meeting with the media at the podium. Look, the fact that he's meeting with the media to me is a positive thing. Cam Ward not in a sling. For those of you that couldn't see him, he did say off the top that he doesn't think he will need surgery. Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport reporting that he will not, that it is a sprained AC joint. Cam saying he doesn't think he will need surgery in the offseason. So, positive news for Cam as his rookie year comes to an end. Titans interim coach Mike McCoy is next to step up to the podium. We'll carry it live next.
but I know who the Tennessee Men's Clinic is, and they've been helping guys for over a decade who are struggling with performance issues. Erectile dysfunction can wreck your confidence, and it can impact your relationship, your mental health, and even your sense of identity. But there's good news. There's real help. Since 2014, the Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped thousands of guys get back to feeling like themselves. Not cookie-cutter treatments. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is urology-based and staffed with multiple licensed providers who specialize in men's sexual health issues. They use proven treatments tailored to your specific situation. No one size fits all. Too many guys rely on pills that don't work or come with nasty side effects. There are better treatments. Sometimes it's a combination of those treatments that finally unlock the results that you've been missing. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes a full medical consultation, blood work, and if medically advised, a test dose right there in the office. So call now at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or book easily online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Welcome back. After hearing from Titans no longer rookie quarterback Cam Ward for the final time in the 2025 season, we're set to hear from Titans interim coach Mike McCoy and what I think we all assume will be the final time that we hear from McCoy in that capacity at the podium from the facility. Welcome back. Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh with you until 1 o'clock. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Buck is at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We will catch up with him tomorrow after we hear from Mike Borgonzi right at the top of the show at 10 a.m. And we fully dive into a critical offseason for the Tennessee Titans with the head coaching search that has commenced, interview requests sent out to the likes of Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo, who obviously Borgonzi has those Chiefs connections with, Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator of the Colts, Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator of the Broncos, are some of the confirmed names that the Titans have requested to interview. A head coaching search, free agency, where the Titans have the most salary cap space in the NFL, and the NFL draft, where the Titans currently have the number 4 overall selection coming up.
If we were putting odds on Mike McCoy returning to the Titans in a leadership role, where would you put your confidence that he would return? Give me a percent.
Pretty low because you just don't see it happen. But, I'd say like 10%, 8%. I'd probably put it in single digits. When that happens, I feel like typically I'm trying to think of a case where an interim coach has been retained by a new staff. There's no question McCoy had a positive influence on Cam this year. The only improvement we saw from Cam Ward in his rookie season was under Mike McCoy's watch. And he's got relationships, obviously, across the league as a former head coach in the NFL. So we'll see. But I would say very, very doubtful right now. We talked a little bit the other week about potential retentions on the Titans staff, right? I think any Titans fan should want the new head coach to want to retain John Bones Fossil as special teams coordinator. And there could be some other retentions along the staff, whether it's a guy like Luke Stalker that at this point has worked under multiple administrations, for lack of a better word, with the Titans, currently the tight ends coach, helping design the run game here in these last few weeks. But as Mike Borgonzi kind of takes control here on the football side, I just don't think we see a ton of carryover. I think we see very little, if any, from the previous staff. So I'd be pretty shocked, Bert, to see Mike McCoy retained in any capacity as the Titans move forward here. And again, the Matt Nagy reactions have surprised me from Titans fans. But I really don't know what coaching hire would fully satisfy the fan base, would have the fan base doing cartwheels. And the thing is, as much as we value you guys, or at least I do, 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. I love hearing what you guys think. I love hearing about what hires would make you happy, what hires would not leave you feeling inspired. But the truth is, none of that part of it matters, right? Like Titans fans, I think, are already building boxes for the new head coach. Got to be offensive-minded. Got to have an established head coach that can come in here, that knows how to set his culture, that learned from previous experiences. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be anything. And the proof is in the NFL playoff picture right now. 14 teams in the playoff, Bert. Do you know playoffs, I should say? Do you know off the top of your head, I'm putting you in a spot here, but off the top of your head, how many coaches would you say of the 14 teams currently in the playoffs that their current role is their first head coaching opportunity? Like they were not a head coach in the NFL anywhere before the place that they are currently coaching.
Probably more of them than you think. I'd go 9 out of 14.
11 out of the 14 teams in the playoffs, led by a coach that was never a head coach before he was hired by that respective franchise.
Oh, can you name the ones that were? Jim Harbaugh,
yep,
Mike Vrabel.
Vrabel and Peyton.
Peyton.
That's it. Those are the three. And, you know, some of those you're going back a ways. Like Mike Tomlin, it's been a minute. It's been almost 2 decades. But the one seed in the NFC is a defensive-minded head coach that had to fire his offensive coordinator after year one in Mike Macdonald, and now is in his second year. And you look at even just right here in the AFC South, I mean, two great examples of franchises in complete disarray with young quarterbacks that went out and got not just the first-time head coach, but the defensive-minded first-time head coach in Houston, which was one of the biggest dumpster fires in the NFL at the time that they hired DeMeco Ryans and drafted C.J. Stroud. And things haven't been perfect in Houston. It's not been this perfectly linear ascension up to Super Bowl contender, but they're in the playoffs, and they've won games in the playoffs in the DeMeco Ryans era. Hell, the Jags tried the established head coaching thing with Doug Peterson. That was a slam dunk, right, from a PR standpoint. Super Bowl champion, quarterback guru, offensive play caller, established veteran coach, all of these things. And they had a little spike there where they got a playoff win. The Chargers collapsed in the wild card round, and then it cratered. And now here they are. The Jags go from 4 wins to the 3 seed in the AFC in year one of Liam Cohen, who has never been a head coach before, who 4 years ago was coaching Will Levis at Kentucky. I mean, the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, first-time head coach when he took that job. So all of the parameters that you're setting up in your head, and it don't go the other direction either, right? Curtis on the F&M Bank chat says, just say no to retreads. I don't think you're in the business of saying no to anything, of eliminating any one category. How many retreads have had success here in recent years? We've talked about the Dan Quinn example. So it doesn't have to be this box that has to be checked. It doesn't have to be offensive-minded QB guru the way it had to be in the last cycle. It just has to be someone who will earn the trust of Mike Borgonzi with their vision for the Titans, regardless of the background. And if it's a defensive coach, he will have to sell Borgonzi and the Titans on how he's going to put Cam Ward in a position to succeed. If they hire a defensive coach, they're not doing it blindly, having no clue what his plan is for offensive coordinator and quarterback coach and play calling.
And to your point about coaches that are in the playoffs that are in their first head coaching job, I mean, the flip side of that coin is look at all the guys that were fired this year. Brian Callahan, first head coaching job. Raheem Morris, first head coaching job. Kevin Stefanski, first head coaching job. Everybody aside from Pete Carroll, essentially.
Well, Raheem was
an interim head coach for the Falcons.
Well, then he was the head coach of the Bucks.
Oh, that's right. I misplaced that.
For 3, I mean, that was...
So 2 of the head coaches that were fired this cycle were second tenured.
Yes. Yeah, Pete Carroll and Raheem Morris. So, yeah, absolutely. But I guess the point here is we have no earthly idea, right? Like, we don't know how these things are going to pan out. And that might feel like the laziest way to do it. The laziest analysis to have is, well, I don't know what's going to happen. But we don't. We don't know which coach is going to be able to successfully sell his vision to Mike Borgonzi. And if it is a retread in that Matt Nagy category, just like a defensive potential first-time coach will have to sell Borgonzi on his plan for the offense, a retread would have to sell the Titans on what he learned from the first stop that he'll apply in the second try here in Tennessee. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So, not to tell people how to think or how they should approach the coaching search as a fan. And you want what you want. But I would just caution people to have these preconceived notions going into the process because there will be names that the Titans are going to interview that are going to move on to another stage of interviewing that are going to drive Titans fans insane. If the Titans see Lou Anarumo fit to have a virtual and then second interview, then just let the process play out before you start tearing your hair out because Lou Anarumo is a defensive coordinator and has never been a head coach, and his defenses haven't been elite in the NFL over the last couple of years. Patience over this next process, and I do think what we learned from the Titans on Friday, that Mike Borgonzi will be running the show, is a reason to feel better about the way the Titans are handling this next phase for the franchise. Bob in Smyrna is up first. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Buck. Hey, Lucas. Long-time caller, first-time listener. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on throwing the bag at Lane Kiffin to be the head coach of the Titans. I'll hang up and listen. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Bob. I don't know. I'm assuming that wasn't a serious proposition. But look, to be honest, for the sake of conversation, for Lane Kiffin, who's already the head coach at LSU, there's not that many NFL teams that could afford Lane Kiffin at this point, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and he probably wouldn't want to go to the NFL either. You can't backdoor your team in the middle of the night in the NFL. You can't leave in the playoffs to go coach another team in the NFL.
When did Bobby Petrino leave with the sticky notes on the lockers in Atlanta? He backdoored out, but you're right. I mean, it wasn't the same situation. It's completely opposite. I am very curious as to who the next coach to make that leap will be. If it is Marcus Freeman, who continues to be brought up in those conversations and announced he's staying at Notre Dame this year, or if it is one of these offensive guys, if Lane Kiffin ever. I mean, far be it for any of us to predict anything about Lane Kiffin's future, but no, the Titans will not be throwing any sort of bag at Lane Kiffin, I wouldn't say. 615-737-1045. Titans interim coach Mike McCoy is set to meet with the media shortly to wrap up the season. We will carry that live, but in the meantime, we want to hear from you. Randy is up next in Missouri. Hey, Randy.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing today?
Good, man.
Yeah, so bring me Kevin Stefanski, head coach. Matt Nagy's already said that he would be interested in calling plays somewhere else if he got the chance to be offensive coordinator and actually call the plays. Bring me Matt Nagy as offensive coordinator and bring me Raheem Morris as a defensive coordinator, and I'm set to go for next season.
Thanks for the call, Randy. All right, Randy's got it all set up. Got the whole thing figured out. Everybody's going to have kind of their different barometers of what they will consider a successful head coaching search, but it's going to be an interesting process. Mike McCoy's meeting with the media. We go to it live.
Back to New England week. It means the world to me. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. I'm very grateful for it. We've had phenomenal communication from the very first meeting up until yesterday's game about how we're going to do things, what we wanted to do. Mike and I, being the head coach and the general manager, the relationship we've built over the past 12 weeks is unbelievable. I mean, we had a lot of great discussions, talking through roster every week, what you need to do, how we need to do it, transactions, move certain things we're going to do during the season, how we wanted to play that week. It's been unbelievable. And I think that's important for a head coach and general manager to have that working relationship and be able to do that and make tough decisions together, because it wasn't Mike's decision or my decision. It was our decision for the organization. So I think that was phenomenal. And I look back to that first meeting, talking to Amy, Mike, and Chad. We talked about the growth of the football team and how we wanted this team to grow over the next 11 games of the season. And I think as a staff, coaching staff, players, everybody involved, we did an outstanding job doing that. You see the growth of all these younger players you guys asked about every week, week in and week out. They continue to get better, which was unbelievable to see these guys grow. And to see the leadership is outstanding. And the next thing we talked about, is how we were going to play. We were going to play hard, tough, and together. And I think you'll see up to the very last snap yesterday, that's exactly how these players played. They worked extremely hard during the year. They stuck together through some tough times. It wasn't easy. So that was kind of special to see. I'd also like to thank the fans, through a difficult season. You see the way the fans were, the Kansas City game. We played our best game of the year. The way we played that day at home in front of our fans was unbelievable. My wife on the way home on the car ride mentioned, that was what it's all about. And that's, then we came back to New Orleans game and we got off to the good start. Unfortunately, we didn't finish it. But when you hear Sweet Caroline, I think it was like 11 minutes left in the game, you hear that and the crowd's going crazy. A lot of great memories to that song. And but that was great. That's what it's all about. So thank you to the fans for everything. And then, to thank my family, my wife, my kids, for all their support. I couldn't do it without them. And it was kind of neat because the other night on the phone, we just talked about where we were, at this time last year. And it just, to get this opportunity to lead the organization is special. And there's only 32 of these jobs, and to say, hey, that Amy, Mike, and Chad gave me this opportunity, it's like, wow, this is awesome. And then, I'd like to thank the entire organization. Everybody from the trainers, the ops department, equipment, player engagement, team security, video department, Everett, and the rest of his staff. I couldn't do it without them, but everybody bought into our plan. It was out of this world, and I think that I couldn't do it without them. It wasn't just me. It was everybody in the organization getting these players, because it's all about the players, and we got to do everything we can to help the players. And I'd also like to thank you guys. I mean, I know this was a tough situation. Unfortunately, when I first got in here, week 7, we didn't have a lot of, we hadn't talked a lot, and we kind of built the relationships over time, and, it wasn't always easy. We didn't know a lot about each other, but I think we built relationships, and it kind of, as time went on, we had fun, and we enjoyed each other. We gave each other a bad time. When someone would show up late every once in a while, walking in, won't say any names or anything, or, it was enjoyable, and that's the way it should be. But we should be able to have fun together. We both have tough jobs to do, and people are always going to question articles or decisions, and that's just the way it is. But it was fun working with you guys. I really appreciate it, and thank you for everything you guys do. I appreciate it. The next thing is to thank the coaches. What an outstanding job in a tough time. The ups and downs. There's a lot of transactions that happen, injuries that happen during the year. There's roster changes, but they just kept working, and they just did whatever they could to help. We talk about the growth of the football team, and that's one thing I'll look back at. You can look at every position to see how did the guys get better, and give the coaches a lot of credit for that. On the back end on the defense, the number of changes we made week in and week out, and just see those coaches work the way they did is special. And that's kind of one of the things I told the players this morning, is that not only are they good coaches, they're even better people, and they truly cared about the players. And I think that's one of the big reasons why you saw our players play the way they did up until the bitter end of the very end of the season. It's because of the type of people we have in the organization and the way we treated these players. And so give those guys, it starts with the coaches and transfers over to the players. And then the coordinators, making adjustments on a weekly basis, with different personnels, how we're going to play, who we're going to do it with, putting the best plans together for the guys we have. Nick keeping everyone, going offensively through a tough time when there was changes. Give him a lot of credit for the way he handled the situation when Bo took over the play calling. And then, obviously, when I became the head coach, give Nick a ton of credit for the way he kind of did things and kept everyone rolling. And, Luke, had a big part in the running game as time went on there. And you give him, him and Scott and Jonesy a ton of credit for the way they worked together to put the run game together and to run it the way we wanted to at the end of the year. And I'm not going to go on and on about, other coaches also. And then, Denard just weekly making the changes and, putting guys in a position to get after the quarterback, make plays. And then Bones, obviously, with having the Pro Bowl returner and Chim and everything like that. So, I'm just very happy with the way the coaches worked and how they helped these players get better. And then it's all about the players. Can't thank them enough. And it starts with the captains, the way they led this football team, the way they worked. Great examples when you watch the way these guys played every single day. There's a reason why they were voted captains, and the way they practiced, the way they showed these young guys. And obviously Cam was one of the captains. What an honor as a rookie to be a captain. Says a lot about him. But these players, free agents, the draft picks, however you got here, we became a team. We stuck together through some tough times, and they all played their tails off. So I can't say that and say enough good things about all the players. Just so happy for them. You see someone, just to mention a few things, like Chig, most receiving yards in a season for him, most receptions in a season. Jeff, 11 sacks. That's best, that's tops in him. Tony Pollard, most rushing yards. And it's just great to see when you see those players, they're great examples, and they have their best years. So it's great to see that. And they're great it's great to have the young guys learn from these guys. Great role models to have, and they're just true pros. So with that, I was kind of long-winded there, but I'll open up some questions.
Mike, Cam said he's listening to the training staff and rest and everything. Sounds like it might be the path. Has a decision been made yet that he might need surgery?
They're evaluating everything. So I hear it's good results from what they've heard, but I have not talked to Matt directly. I've been with coaches and been with players, but it's been positive feedback.
What's your next step?
My next step, just got a couple more. Got to go downstairs, talk to some more coaches and players are coming in. Continue to talk to them and see what shakes out.
I mean, do you have a meeting with Mike? Do you tell him you want the job, or?
With all due respect to the process and how they're going to go through things, that'll play itself out. Obviously, I would love to be here.
What is, whomever the next staff is, head coaches, what do they need to know about what this job has to offer and what you kind of need to navigate through it?
Well, I think the foundation is set. I think with the way you see the rookie class perform this year and the amount of plays that they got, offensively, defense, the kicking game, obviously Jeff being on defense, the foundation is here. And there's plenty of other players. I go on and on about a number of players, the linebackers, things like that. But the foundation's here. And it's just, you've got to continue to improve the roster as you go on. But they got a very bright future here.
What needs to happen, or what changes need to be made in order for this organization to get where it wants to go?
Well, I think it's the first day of the offseason program. So obviously it starts with hiring a coaching staff. And then you go through the whole daily, you look at your calendar, what's coming next, you just keep on going. You don't play now a real game until September. Obviously you have preseason games, but it's just each day you continue to help the organization improve. And, the staff comes in, they do all the scouting, you do all the self-scout of your team, where you need to go. That staff will put together a list of needs, and obviously Mike and his staff they're well ahead of that, and they understand what direction the organization's going. So it's the first day of the offseason program, so you just try to get better every day.
You talked a lot about being a leader, and I know you've done this job before. What was different now compared to when you were head coach before? How much things change?
Well, I don't think it's the head coach. There's so many things that come across your desk. I was very fortunate to have the 4 years experience, obviously with the Chargers, to put myself in this position. So it was an easy transition. It was seamless. Having worked obviously with Tom Telesco in San Diego, then being able to go sitting there with Mike, it was easy because I know how the things were. And every organization is different, don't get me wrong, but it's easy to go in there and talk about, the 48, how you're going to travel, all those things. So it was pretty seamless, to be honest with you.
What do you tell the coaching staff besides thanks and have a good chat with Mike?
Wait, say that one more time.
What do you tell the coaching staff besides thank you and wait to hear from Mike?
Oh, well, we talked this morning. We had a staff meeting this morning. I thank them for everything, and told them, they did an unbelievable job, through the ups and downs of the season. It was not easy, obviously, with a coaching change in week 7, and then as the year goes on and there's transactions, there's injuries, there's things that come up. I told them, they did a phenomenal job, and at the end of it, I always said, hey, listen, if there's anything I do to help you, regardless, I've been in this a long time, know a lot of coaches, if there's anything I do to help you move forward and help you in your career, please don't hesitate to reach out, because no one knows what the future lies for anybody.
Jeff said, when you talked to him there, that the challenge for the new coach will be to identify and build a foundation that success can be built on. As you stand here today, what do you think the foundation within that locker room and this team is?
Well, I talked about that earlier, about the foundation. Obviously, Jeff is the leader on the defense, and he's a great guy to start. If you want to look from a defensive coordinator or scheme on how you're going to run it, you've got the best player on defense to build around. And then obviously, and there's other players, but that's just one of them. And then if you look offensively, the way Cam, you always want to have a franchise quarterback. The way Cam, you saw him get better every week. You saw a number on both sides of the ball. You saw all the draft picks that played this year. You see the free agents that came in. You see how they kind of filled in. So it's just It's the first day of the offseason program, so I think the foundation's here. It's just continue now to build the team, up until September. And it's one day at a time, and I know Mike's always looking at, hey, who is the next guy we can bring in here to help this football team be the best, get the best 53 come the opener next year.
If you look back on the last 10 weeks or so, what would you say are some of the key things that you've learned the most about Cam Ward?
Well, I've told you, every week he wants to be great. And I talked to Cam this morning about a number of different things, and it's just what you love about Cam also is that he's steady Eddie during the game. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He knows that he was learning. We've had a lot of great discussions on a weekly basis of mistakes are on me as the coach, and just to keep going and cut it loose. And I said it last week. Unfortunately, he got dinged after the first series this week, but you saw those wow plays that week in and week out the past month of the season, and there's a number of them early in the year too. But the plays that he made in those last couple games, it just you can't coach that. That's just pure talent of him going out there making plays. So it's just great to see the way he got better, and you can see the way seeing the field better. Early in the year as a rookie, it's the first year in a system. It's fast. It's flying around. You're thinking of plays. Can I check to something versus blitz zero? And then as you see the end of the season, he made some of those checks, and it was easy for him. So he's got a very, very bright future. He wants to be great. So look forward to seeing him have a great career moving forward.
What would be your advice to the next person that lands in this chair?
Be you. Go do it your way. That's the only way to do it. Do what you think is best for the organization. And we've all grown up in the NFL or college, wherever you come from, and you've learned from certain other coaches. But believe in your plan, stick to it, and do what you think is best, and don't worry about anything else. But you got to be you, and you have to. When you're in charge, you got to do it your way. And obviously, you get input from other people. But when you're pulling the trigger and you got to make the decisions, have confidence in it and live with it.
How did it help you and Cam, the fact that you were a quarterback, in the way you were able to coach him down the stretch, and how receptive he was to what you had to offer?
I think it's great because I've thrown interceptions before. And so you make mistakes. And so, and I've coached some of the best in the business. Obviously I had Peyton, Hall of Famer. I have another Hall of Famer. He just took a little 5-year delay in it, and Phillip. And those guys, just being around them, Jake Delhomme, I'll throw Jake in because he was the most vocal.
Welcome back. Wrapping up the show as Titans interim coach Mike McCoy is still at the podium wrapping up the season. So we go back live to Mike McCoy at the Titans facility.
But it's you learn from all those guys, and you let them be themselves, and you understand that Cam's gonna make a mistake. He's gonna miss a throw. He's gonna throw an interception. And it's easy for you guys to write an article. It's easy for me to say something directly after the game. But what I try to do is don't make those comments. What I try to do is game day, let Cam come to the sideline, ask him, why did you do this? What did you see? And then when you look at the tape and you watch it, that's why a lot of times after games, I didn't always tell you guys everything. I'd say, I got to watch the tape because I didn't know. Cam might have said something, or another player could have said something, but watch the tape and say, okay, that's exactly what happened. It's easy when you hold a remote in your hand to say the ball should go here, the ball should go there. But if he says, hey, this is why, I just didn't see it. So there's certain things that, having played the position for a long time, I understand that.
The day that you moved up to the interim spot, you said, well, the big thing will be the growth you see in the football team. It took a little while, but why did the growth come in December, and what were the areas you saw the most growth late in the season?
Well, I think the great thing about it is I also said that I want this football team to be playing their best football in December going into January, and I think that's exactly what we did. I understood we had a younger football team, and the guys that we were playing, I had a great understanding of where our football team was and where it could go. And I think you saw the way we played in the month of December. That's the way it should be played. You know, the way we ran the football. That was the number one thing that I think helped this football team. It was when we committed to the run and really truly ran it. I mean, you always want to, you go into game plan saying you're going to run it, but until the Cleveland game, we hadn't run the ball that way, really. And understanding the importance of doing that. And then look, you know, how many of the last 7 weeks did we score 24-plus points? You know, all of them except for the Jacksonville 2 games. So I think that was the biggest thing, the biggest improvement. I think offensively, you see the way we ran the football, the commitment to it and actually doing it. And then obviously Cam played better. And, you know, you saw the defensive guys, certain guys step up.
Last one. All right.
All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
There it is. Titans interim head coach Mike McCoy for the final time in the 2025 season. Look, nothing about the Titans season was necessarily successful, right? 3-14, you match last year's record. You end up with the top 5 pick in the draft. I think even conservative expectations going into this year said, you know, in that 5 to 6 win range, right about where Vegas had the preseason over-under win total. And things happened. There were injuries, and Brian Callahan is fired 6 weeks in. And all things considered, Mike McCoy, it certainly was not perfect. And the Titans didn't have some sort of resurgence that would have players standing on the table and demanding he's hired as the next head coach the way, say, the Raiders did when Josh McDaniels was fired and Antonio Pierce took over. But I do think Mike McCoy deserves some credit for the way he simply stabilized what was happening with the amount of rookies playing on both sides for the Titans and, most importantly, with Cam Ward. The only stretch of improvement that we saw from Cam Ward, his best football, came a few weeks into Mike McCoy's time as the interim head coach. And this is the NFL, right? Like, nobody's handing out flowers for that. The improvement is the bare minimum. If you're not going to win with a young football team, at the very, very least, you need to see that team improve. The problem is that wasn't happening over the first half of the season, and I do think it did over the back half during that stretch where the Titans won 2 of 3. And in the end, there's still so much work to be done with this team, and I think there was a spotlight on that after Cam Ward went down yesterday. But I do think Mike McCoy deserves some credit for simply stabilizing the situation.
But now the fun stuff.
Now the fun stuff. We light the beacons. Coaching search, free agency, NFL draft. It all starts today. NFL playoffs, college football playoff action all coming up this weekend. Much to discuss, and tomorrow we will hear from Titans GM Mike Borgonzi right off the top to kick off a critical offseason for the Tennessee Titans. See you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m.